I feel like my phone is in such a precarious spot. I feel like it's apt to fall down at any time. But we'll see. We'll see. What's up, Glitch Dash? Always glad to see you in here, you know. Always glad, always happy. What it do, what it be, where it is, how it be. They always ask what it do, but they never ask how it do. Hey, Sophia, jumping over from Paul's stream. Hope your day's going good. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I just figured if Paul's, getting a giant crowd of transphobes, and weekends are one of the few times when I can kind of stream during the daytime, sometimes, depending on what I've got going on. I couldn't yesterday because I had because I was making tomato sauce. My weird Cajun pizza sauce / spaghetti sauce. Honestly, at the consistency that I canned it at, it'd probably work as spaghetti sauce just by itself. I think it'll also work as a pizza sauce. I don't know. I'm gonna have to try it out with the first jar and see how it works. Because if it's too liquidy and everything, then I'll have to probably simmer it for another hour before I can use it in a pizza. But I think that it should be multi-purpose with the way I made it. But that's what I was busy doing yesterday, so I couldn't come out and do one of these. But I figured if Paul's dealing with all like a giant crowd of transphobes, might as well take this opportunity where I can come on, maybe make some hay about it, I'm gonna try and move my camera rig a little closer so I can see you guys a little bit better, maybe. What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Make sure you guys hit that like button. Every single time you hit that like button, it's another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which will increase the quality of viewer viewing pleasure by increasing the number of people who can engage in the chat. And that's the whole primary point here. We talk about the news and current events with a little bit of input from the chat. Jesus needs to respect boundaries. I agree. Always just offering his fucking love up to anybody. He doesn't even ask if they want it beforehand. Like, he doesn't even check. He doesn't even try to be sure. Rip Charlie Kirk. I mean, I'm not glad he's dead. Okay, no, I'm not glad he's dead. I will admit that. I'm not glad he's dead, but it's not some big loss either. Like, let's not overplay the loss. This is not the only dude who was out there championing free speech, and I would argue that he really wasn't championing free speech at all, because a lot of the things he advocated for would have ultimately led to a complete downturn in free speech. It would have led to the suppression of free speech. So I think it's arguable as to whether he even was a free speech leader to begin with. But even if you're going to say he was, there are plenty of people still doing that job today. There are going to be plenty of people still doing that job forevermore. It's not going to stop because somebody capped Charlie. I'm sorry, it's just not. False, you're delusional? Wow, well, you really convinced me with all those really good arguments and well-prepared statements. Not one lie? Yeah, keep watching. You'll hear a bunch of other truth, too. You hear a bunch more. There's a bunch more truth where that comes from. You know what else? Charlie Kirk was a piece of shit. He was somebody that would have advocated for the destruction of a lot of the rights we have today. But I still don't think he deserved to be shot dead like a dog in the street. I know, call me crazy, But my take on this is basically two things. Number one, we need to stop overplaying the fucking, as far as like the assassination itself in a vacuum. My take is this. We need to stop overplaying the importance of this assassination in terms of Charlie Kirk being gone and it having some big effect. I'm talking on the right wing and the left wing. The right wing needs to stop acting like Charlie Kirk was the only fucking person that was making arguments for their side, considering how fucking many right wing influencers there are. And the left wing needs to stop acting like this is going to have any fucking effect on the right wing at all, other than giving them a bunch of ammunition. I mean, like, obviously it's going to do that. But in terms of this being like some people have even been saying like, oh, this could be a death blow to the conservative movement. It's like, are you retarded? No, this is like, that's the opposite of what happens when you have a politically targeted assassination. Who are you to be so opinionated? Just an American that reads the news. Just an American that reads. Is that qualified enough for you? But yeah, I did see the governor of Colorado saying something that I really agreed with. He was like, let's stop blaming social media for this. Let's stop blaming free speech for this. Let's stop blaming the rhetoric for this necessarily, even. Because the fact of it is, no matter what rhetoric comes out, you still kind of have to be a crazy piece of shit to go and assassinate somebody. Full stop, period. Like, even if you look at the most successful movements, and even if you look at the most successful legislative movements in this country, none of them happened the way an assassin wanted them to happen. The example I keep bringing up is Martin Luther King Jr., who was assassinated by a white supremacist who hoped to silence the civil rights movement by killing their most prominent leader. What in fact happened is mass riots, mass demonstrations, and President Johnson was able to use the friction that the country was experiencing, the tension in the country, and the riots and the protests, and his assassination. He was able to use that to get the Fair Housing Act passed. So it had the opposite effect of what the white supremacist who murdered MLK Jr. intended to do. MLK Jr. was killed by a white supremacist who intended to silence and chill the rhetoric of the civil rights movement. It had the opposite effect. It in fact empowered the civil rights movement in a way that had never been done before. What brand shirt is that? This is just a Terra Sky. What are they called? Like a undershirt. Yeah, it's a Terra Sky undershirt that I cut off. Make sure you guys hit that up. Every single time you hit that like button, there's another chance to send the stream out to even more people, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure. Blech. Such a hard fucking phrase to say sometimes. By engaging the number of people in the chat, or by increasing the number of people who can engage in the chat. Point is, hit the like button. It really does help. If you hate me, you should want more people in here so that they can argue against me. And if you like me, you should just hit the like button anyway. Anybody else field strip their cigarette to keep the butt so they don't throw it away? Your madam's apple is showing? Nice bait. No, I used to question the whole science of that because my my voice box is so small, you know? Like, like everybody had, like, you know, males always have an Adam's apple and it's always prominent, but then you look at me and it's just like fat, you know? You don't look or sound like a woman? What exactly does a woman look and sound like to you? Just wait. You're about to hear the description of a trad wife. What does a woman look and sound like to you? Are you a girl or a boy? Girl. Could you imagine hearing dude speak on being a what? Probably keeps them to throw away properly later. Exactly. Yeah. That's why I keep the butts. Yeah, is to properly throw them away. Because I can't, like, dude, you leave a fucking, like, butt in an ashtray, unless it's a certain ashtray, like, unless it's an ashtray in your house or something that's regularly getting thrown away, dude, just getting, like, okay, I'm just going to put it this way. Disposing of a cigarette butt is a risky business, okay? Because if you put it in an ashtray outside, the wind could blow it out, and then it could be blown out into your yard. And yeah, one cigarette butt every so often in the natural community is not going to kill it. But I personally, I don't know about you, but I don't want my addiction to cause a massive fucking influx of cigarette butts everywhere I look, which is kind of like, I don't know if you guys remember, but I feel like, and even to this day in the South, I mean, it really hasn't changed much here, but I feel like in a lot of the country for a long time, you could pretty much just walk down the street and get enough, you could get a pack worth of cigarettes and tobacco just by looking for duffs and looking for butts that people disposed of improperly. I'm starting to see a reduction in that kind of thing, and, you know, I do my part by field stripping and keeping my butts to throw them away later. Charlie Kirk would be ashamed. I don't give a fuck what Charlie Kirk would think about a fucking single thing. Why the fuck would I care what that right-wing piece of shit had to say about a goddamn thing? I'm not happy he's dead. I don't think he deserved to be shot down like a dog in the street for being a moron. But he was a moron. You're not going to tell me he wasn't. That dude said the fucking Civil Rights Act, passing the Civil Rights Act, was one of the worst decisions America ever made. This was not a hero to the working class. This was not a friend to the average person. This was an enemy of the people. But he still didn't deserve to be shot down like a street and shot. It'd be one thing if he'd been out there actively calling for violence. If he'd been out there actively calling for violence, dude, live by the sword, die by the sword. But he wasn't. He was out there calling for debate. Now, granted, he was calling for people to debate some of the most basic fucking facts about society in general. I get that. The debates that he was fostering were not exactly the most high quality discourse on the planet. But that's why my big thing is, like, I would have way rather, and I bet a lot of you right wingers listening to me right now would have rathered this too. Wouldn't you have rather Tom Robinson or whatever his name put down his rifle, got down off that building, and came up to the microphone? Wouldn't that have been a way better outcome for Tuesday or Wednesday? I mean, wouldn't that have been a way better outcome on Wednesday? That would have been way better. That would have been way better. Because what happened is, even if this is not the case, right? What happened has an image to it. Because regardless of whether it was a left-wing or a right-wing person, or a person who's so deep into online sub-communities that they don't even know what the fuck they are anymore, no matter what their political affiliations are, what it looks like, because of who Charlie Kirk is, what it looks like to most people that look at it on just a baseline level, it looks like a right-wing guy was killed by some left-winger because they didn't have a good enough argument to actually argue against him, so they had to shoot his ass because that was the only way they could win the argument. Which I don't think that's what happened, mind you. I think it was a motherfucking insane person that was so deep in online communities they didn't even know what the fuck they were anymore. I think it was probably a groiper or something like that. But that's the way it looks. The way it looks is a dude who's most well known for arguing with random people that come up to the microphone at colleges and shit like that, got killed, presumably. And like I said, this is how it looks. I'm not saying this is what actually happened, but the way it fucking looks is like he got killed because somebody just couldn't make a good enough argument, you know. And that's fucking stupid and shitty. Also, I just saw a super chat a minute ago, and I forgot to read it. So let me look at that. Look at that. Okay, I'm just going to go to fan funding because the chat's moving way too fast. Okay, fan funding. Girl, check your Cash App. Oh? Dude, hell yeah. Glitch Dash donated $10 plus the $2 in here. Thank you so much for that, Glitch Dash. You really are a fucking working class hero. Dude, I love you so much. Oh my god, I love you so much. You have no idea how much that helps. Because literally, I need to buy more feed tomorrow, and I was going to have to ask my partner to pay for it, but that means I can pay for it, at least part of it, you know? So that's super cool. Thank you. But yeah, after today, I've got enough feed for the cows and goats today, but I got to get more tomorrow, which I would have got to one way or the other, but now I can, I can do it myself. Of course, luckily, with them being in the new pasture and them having access to a lot more grass and forage and stuff like that, they've been gaining weight better, and they've been eating healthy, and I see them chewing their cud all the time, so they're doing good. They've got plenty of forage out here and stuff. Anyway, Republicans taking accountability is like Belarus going to the moon. It'll never happen. Yeah, well, one can hope, right? One can hope, and I think that is kind of a lot of people's hope. I know it's one of my hopes right now is that the right wing will take some accountability for them having a piece of this rhetoric too, but they're not going to. You're right. It's nigh on impossible for them to do that. I mean, it would take a complete shift of their narrative. It would take a complete shift of their argument. It would take a complete shift from what they've been saying for the last fucking 10 years. They can't change courses now. They're locked in. That's why the rhetoric from them has just gotten spicier. That's why the rhetoric from the right wing has just gotten worse and gotten, as things like this continue, they're in way too deep to just, say fuck it. They're in way too deep to just go like, nah, they are in way too deep to decide to change courses now. The only way they would change courses now is if Trump himself came out and was like, if he changed the narrative. Trump himself could change the narrative, but like short of that, there's not a single right-wing media personality that's going to be able to change the narrative themselves. The only right-wing personality that actually matters and set any kind of anything for the right wing is Donald Trump. He's the only fucking human being on the in the Republican Party or on the right wing at all who matters, really, at the end of the day. Everything comes down to him. That's why it's a cult, by the way. That's why we call you guys a cult, is because you guys will fight endlessly with one another, but unite around Trump. You all unite around Trump. All of you. To a man. Like, yeah, sure, Nick Fuentes and fucking Charlie Kirk might have had a beef, but you know what Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk both agreed with? Trumpism. You know what they were both happy with? Trump winning the presidency. You know what their fan communities were both happy with? Trump winning the presidency. It doesn't really matter that they've got this like in-group kind of inbred hatred, because it just doesn't matter when it comes to the moments that would matter. When it comes to presidential elections, they're in lockstep. When it comes to major political movements, it's just this like minutiae that they really disagree on. And honestly, you could say the same kind of thing about the left. I'm not saying that we're exempt from this criticism, just so you know. We're a cult heard from the mouth of a trans. You realize that transgender, like being transgender, is something that is like backed up and valid by the medical community, right? Like how, you realize my fucking way of life, or whatever you want to call being trans. It's not really a way of life. I guess like you could say it's an aspect of lifestyle, but that is scientifically backed up. I'm sorry, it just is. And the fact that I don't voice train doesn't change that. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. It doesn't. Now, does my voice give me some dysphoria? A little bit, but like honestly, I feel like my countenance is feminine enough to where I don't really notice it as bad as some people do. And I've also like known enough women with voices just as deep, some of which were even deeper than mine, that it makes me like, like whatever, because I've met more than enough cis women to know that it is not so like outside of the scape, or what's the word I'm looking for, outside of the scope of femininity, that it makes me like invalid or whatever. What's a cis woman? I think if you look up the prefix cis, you might learn the answer to that. Let me Google that for you. And also, let me turn on... No, that's not what I wanted to do. Piece of shit. Sorry, guys. There we go. Cis is a made-up word. It's literally not. It's been around since the Romans. You guys are retarded, dude. Anti-intellectualism has gone so fucking berserk in this country. It has become so rampant. You guys realize this is a statistic I first heard from Paul Zigo, but I've verified it myself, and so I keep repeating it. 60% of American adults read at or below a 4th grade level. Do you know how fucking sad that is? The average rental contract is written at something like an 8th grade level. Most adult novels are written between an 8th grade level and a 12th grade level. Some of them are college level. Any kind of medical document or anything like that is going to be written between a 6th and an 8th grade level. So you guys can't even read some of the shit that I would point you towards to back up my claims. That's the sad thing about arguing with some of you guys. And I'm not even trying to shit talk. This is a failure, it's less a failure of you guys and more a failure fucking parents, a failure of your fucking parents and your fucking education system that is basically designed to not churn out intelligent people. This is something George Carlin used to say. The education is not designed to churn out intelligent people capable of rational thinking and critical thought. They are designed to churn out obedient workers. They're designed to churn out people that are just intelligent enough to do all the paperwork and run all the machines, and just dumb enough to accept the worst benefits, the worst pay, the stagnant wages, and the end of overtime and the pension that fund that disappears the moment you go to collect it, right? That is what schools are designed to do. And every time I have an argument like this, I end up running up against the same problem, which is that I'm talking to somebody that I could refer to the Mayo Clinic. I could totally tell you right now, and I will. If you can read, go ahead and look up transgenderism Mayo Clinic and read through their whole write-up about it. It's like a 10-page thing with all kinds of links to other pages for other definitions if you're not familiar and stuff like that. It's really, really, really user-friendly, really easy to read, really easy to understand as a layperson, and you will know more than you know now coming in here with nothing more than whatever right-wing demagogue you listen to's talking points. Just go educate yourself. Just be more and smarter for once in your life. Choose to be better. They affirmed your delusions in order to sell you lifelong drugs. Okay, so it's just a conspiracy against all of science now. Dude, you guys love to say that everything is a conspiracy or that everything's to just profit off of stupid people when you're talking about like medical science that disagrees with you, or like social science that disagrees with you or whatever. But dude, oh man, don't bring that point up if you want to talk about how the medical industry being set up the way it is right now means that it's ran on a for-profit basis, and that means that there is no real incentive to provide the absolute best care because there's a profit motive involved, a strong profit motive involved. But not only that, there's also an incentive for insurance companies, because they exist and are intimately involved in the healthcare industry in the United States. There's a very heavy incentive for them to not for them to deny your claims, basically, for them to not accept your claims and to deny as much as they can, so that you don't have, so that you're basically not costing them extra money, so that you have to pay out of pocket for whatever it is you're having to get. And the insurance company is basically just like a billing mediator at that point. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about how car insurance is basically how crash insurance could be a government funded and run program, and in many countries it is. Nobody even brings it up, though. Nobody even talks about it. Nobody even talks about how much of this society is predicated on scalping money off of stupid willing motherfuckers. But oh God, do they love to bring it up in a situation where it doesn't actually apply, but where they think it gets them a cheap win on trans people. Gotta love that. You guys don't want to talk about the profit motive corrupting anything else, so I don't want to hear about it. with your fucking conspiracy theory about trans healthcare, because you don't give a shit about fucking people being abused and exploited for money. You're a fucking conservative. You're a fucking right-winger. You love that shit. You're all about it. That's your political party's entire fucking... that's the fucking premise of the party. Get out of here with your dumb ass. Nah, you know what? I hit the vape, but I need a cigarette for this one. Reported, good to know you don't like free speech. Let me ban you. I love that a bunch of motherfuckers that are claiming to be fans of Charlie Kirk are claiming that they're reporting this stream as if that's not like literally the antithesis of what Charlie Kirk was about. You morons don't care about this shit. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm telling you. And that's how I know I'm right. It's because people do that kind of shit. It's because people will talk all day long about free speech until they hear some speech they don't like. And then they want to deplatform the person making that speech. I've got 437 people listening to me right now, and you want me to have none. Not because I'm some kind of horrible criminal that is like inciting violence or something like that, but because I express myself in a way that you don't like, and because I've got opinions about a political figure that you are really fond of, and you don't like those opinions. I'm sorry, but that's free speech. That is the price you pay to live in a country where you're allowed to say what the fuck you want. Nobody's listening? Watch this. Let's see, there's 400 people watching right now. If half of you guys hit that like button right now, that would be 200 fucking likes. Instantly, and just like that. Now, I don't expect we'll actually get there because not all of you guys will listen, but come on. Prove that person wrong. Prove that at the very least you're tuned into the conversation, if nothing else, and double tap your screen or hit the like button if you've still got a like button. Already jumped to 40. Nice, nice. Also, if you want to make sure your comment or question gets read, consider sending a super chat. I do read and credit every single one as long as it doesn't violate TOS, but I can't read every single chat when the chat's going by this fast. You're a dude, get help. Yeah, I'm going to take your word over the Mayo Clinic's. What on earth? Like, has that ever worked with a single human being in the entirety of your life? Has it ever worked with a single human being? I swear to God, these must be motherfuckers that have, like, you know what it might be? Older people with grown kids that they ain't got to deal with anymore, but they're used to having that power, dude. They're used to having that fucking power, and they're used to fucking enforcing it on young people. Well, I got news for you, sorry, bitch. I do whatever the fuck I please as long as it ain't hurting nobody else. You ain't gonna stop me. No amount of reports is gonna stop me. No amount of bad words and mean language is gonna stop me either. Fuck you, bitch. The mayonnaise clinic. I wish I've been waiting for somebody to make that joke for so long. And you wasted it. You didn't even make it that funny, but dude. My fat ass talking about the Mayo Clinic, and it's been like 9 months since that's been a talking point of mine, and nobody's fucking made that joke yet? Why are leftists so rude and nasty? I'm really not, except when people are being rude and nasty to me. What, am I supposed to be infinitely kind and nice to everyone all the time? That's not what you guys do. That's not what fucking conservatives do. They get just as fucking mean and nasty as anybody else when somebody's being mean and nasty to them. I give back the energy I get. Like right now, you asked a question that, you know, while a bit presumptuous, I don't think you asked it in an inherently mean way. So I answered what I think is pretty civilly. You know, I'm not yelling at you or anything like that. I'm just giving you my honest take on it. You see how I act differently with you than I would with somebody just calling me a fat pig or whatever? Are you seeing the difference there? Is that shaping out for you? Make sure you guys hit that like button. By the way, 300 people watching. If half of you guys hit that like button, you would get we would have like 150 likes like that. So if you haven't done it already, hit that like button. It really does help the channel. Sends more people in here, which increases the quality of your viewing pleasure. That increases the number of people who can engage in the chat. So please do that for me now. Reminds you of you know what? I'll take that. That's a compliment to me. I remind you of Rosie? Cool. I like that. I dig that shit. I like Rosie. Yeah, she's kind of a lib, but whatever. I like her. I don't give a shit. Whatever. She can be wrong on some of her fucking politics, and you know, honestly, she's more lefty than a lot of the libs out there calling for shit. So whatever. Right-wing Gen Z should just self-delete. That's horrible. That I just read a super chat. YouTube, don't hold that against me, dude. I fucking read it before I even read it. That's one of those super chats I shouldn't have read for a TOS violation. I don't agree at all, dude. Nobody should fucking self-delete ever. Ever, ever. If you're feeling that way, you should contact a helpline. Suicide is not a laughing matter. Don't make another fucking joke about it in my chat. Thank you for the $5. Don't even fucking joke around about that shit. That is not funny. What's your opinion on Charlie Kirk? I think he was a bigoted, backwards, right-wing moron that did not deserve to be shot down like a dog on the street because he was wrong. I'll repeat that for those in the back. Charlie Kirk was a right-wing, bigoted, backwards moron that did not deserve to get shot in the street like a dog for being wrong. Because nobody deserves to be shot dead like a dog in the street for being wrong. Period. Because if you can be considered wrong enough, if Charlie can be considered wrong enough to warrant shooting, so can I. And so can you. And so can anybody else out there. So we need to be fucking careful about how we approach this issue. This needs to be condemned from all sides, roundly, all the way. This is not how things are done. Any anarchist, and this is coming, I'm a revolutionary leftist, okay? This is coming from a revolutionary leftist. This is not how work is done. This is not how praxis works. This is not how you start a revolution. If you're out there LARPing like that's going to be your fucking thing that you personally are involved in, this is not how it starts. This is how you start a fascist fucking oppression regime. This is the kind of shit that starts world wars. Not, you know, I'm not saying Charlie Kirk is on the level of fucking Franz Ferdinand. I'm just saying, you know, assassinations have really fucking far-reaching effects that are often unintended by the people who commit them and by the movements who commit them. And yeah, I think that just about covers it. I've got a few other opinions too, you know, like I don't think anybody needs to shut up. I think we don't, like, I think even if this was a fucking lefty that killed a bunch of people, if we're not going to outlaw the right wing because Timothy McVeigh was right wing, then we shouldn't outlaw the left wing because Tim Robinson or whatever his fucking name is right wing, or I'm sorry, left wing. If we're not going to do one, then we shouldn't do the other. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I don't think like America is founded on. America is founded on the principle of free speech, and I think that needs to be preserved above all else. We need to protect that. We need to preserve it. We need to make sure that in a fucking grasp of. You have no idea what America's founding was based on? Well, the rhetoric says that it was based on the idea of life, liberty, and property, basically. The ability of people to say what they want and do more or less what they want and and everybody has like an equal vote in their democracy and all that shit. That's what the rhetoric will tell you about America's founding. The truth of it was that there were a bunch of aristocrats living in the British colonies who really didn't want to have to send all these taxes back to Great Britain for what? The only thing they got in return was a bunch of guards who were regularly harassing their citizens and making life harder for them and imposing a bunch of laws that made it harder for them to make money. And, you know, they fomented a revolution to separate themselves from that and founded it on democratic principles, presumably to set themselves apart from Great Britain in an even greater and more distinct way. That's the actual story of the founding of America. It's all bullshit. It's been bullshit since day one, folks. America, for smoggy skies, insecticided grains, for strip-mined mountains' majesty above the asphalt plains. America, America, God sheds his waste on me, and crowds the pines with billboard signs from sea to spoiled sea. We have UK under our wing. We kind of took the upper hand. Yeah, we did. We did. Like, that's the thing, you know? Like, I'm still kind of pro-American, even if I recognize this is a pretty fucked up country in a lot of ways, you know? Like, and one of the things you can say about the British-American relationship is, boy, did we turn that shit on its head. Boy, did we turn that shit on its head. Now it's American hegemony. Dude, it's the American empire. If you counted the American empire as stretching as far as the McDonald's go, we basically own the world. If you track it by McDonald's, we basically own the planet. Outside of like Russia and China, maybe. No, I think China even has McDonald's. You know, like, fuck it. I think America would easily denounce you as a citizen. You'd be dead wrong. You realize MAGA only makes up like less than a third of Americans? You realize hardcore MAGA people make up less than a third of Americans? And when I say hardcore MAGA people, I mean people that were willing enough to get up off their fucking asses and go to vote. That counts for less than a third of Americans. Less than a third of Americans voted for Donald Trump in the 2024 election. Or maybe just a third. Maybe just a third. But my guess would be less than a third, because if there was a majority in the 2024 elections, it was people who didn't vote. I know. You hate to hear it, but that's just the truth. People who didn't vote accounted for 35.5%, I think. What are your thoughts on Charlie Kirk's assassination? I've kind of been over this a few times already, but basically, I think that it was a really fucked up thing to do. I don't think assassinations work. I think that they often have the opposite intended effect of whatever person does it, you know? Excuse me. And I just don't. I don't like the attacks that are coming out towards the left about it, because we don't even know what the fucking political affiliations of this person were yet. There's so much conflicting fucking evidence, and the only thing that is like abundantly clear is that this dude was highly, highly and heavily involved in online meme subcultures. That he was a dude that was like constantly on 4chan, constantly on Reddit. It's literally all we know about him so far. All we know about him is that he was some big edgelord online memer, and that's it. We don't know any fucking political affiliations yet, and we likely won't for a good long while, honestly, y'all. It's gonna be a bit. It's going to be a bit before we know exactly what this person's path through politics land was. And it's probably a pretty fucking convoluted and complex path, because like there are pictures that and evidence that makes it seem like he might have been right wing, like when he was a kid or teenager, but then like not later on. It's exhausting trying to make sense out of all of the fucking conflicting news reports coming out right now. And this actually, you know what? I don't know if you guys want to talk about this, but like, this is something we could talk about too. The way the media has become so ready to jump on a story so immediately has actually distorted the quality of information that we're getting. It's like, because there's such an urge and such a desire to get on top of everything and to present, to get the headline and to be out there with the fucking big story, we've actually gotten worse with the information we're getting. Like the quality of the quality of the information that we're getting has become so much worse, because it's so often unverified and anonymous sources and shit like that. Shut up, dude. Salmon, I don't give a fuck about any of that, dude. I ain't looking it up. People need to chill. It takes time to go over a man's life, not 48 hours after capturing. Thank you, Steve. Yes, exactly. Or Stev. I'm not sure how I should pronounce that, but yeah, thank you. Yeah, it takes a fucking while. It takes a long while, dude. And not only that, but it takes a long while for this shit to become verified. Because, dude, you cannot trust a cop. Just because some cops and some agency says some shit doesn't mean it's true, dude. Cops can have agendas just like a fucking citizen can. And so the fucking fact that so many, once again, another great fucking thing to bring up, right? The fact that these media organizations are running with so much of this shit pisses me right the fuck off, because it's like, where is this assumption that you can just trust an anonymous law enforcement official that didn't want to give their name for fear of reprisal? Like, what? That just sounds like a setup to me. That just sounds like a cop trying to fucking get in front of the narrative or some shit with a fucking hunch, So it takes a fucking while for the actual truth to not just come out, but to be verified through discovery in court. Like, that's why I keep saying we are not going to actually know about any of this shit until his court date. Until his, not just his court date, but his actual trial. It'll be in the beginning stages of the trial when we start to see a lot of the fucking evidence that is going to be, like, just them pouring through his life, and like the evidence from that day and everything, which I think a lot of that is probably pretty easily corroborated. But like, when it comes to the details of this person's life, that shit ain't gonna come out until the fucking law enforcement officials have it ready to present to the court in a way that in a way that they're sure the defense attorney isn't just going to instantly shoot it down. That shit takes a while. Make sure you guys hit that like button, by the way, if you haven't already. It really does help the channel. It really does help the stream. Helps your experience, too, by bringing more people into the stream, telling YouTube, hey, keep sending people over this way. And consider sending a super chat if you want to make sure that your question or comment gets answered or read. I do read every single one, as long as it doesn't violate TOS. What happens if he's a radical leftist? I don't know. What do you mean, what happens? What happened when a right-winger killed a Democratic lawmaker and her husband last year? Or earlier this year? What happened when a right-winger bombed the Oklahoma, what was it? The federal building in Oklahoma City? What happened when a right-winger did that? What happened when a right-winger named Dylan Roof went into a black church and shot it up? What happened when a right-winger named Alex Robert, or what was his fucking name? Alex Gonzalez or some shit like that? What happened when that kid went into a high school and shot it up? Fucking memer, edgelord, right-wing edge bro. What happened? What happened after that? Are you taking up for the guy who killed Charlie Kirk? Hell no. I'm just asking what this person means when because there's an implication, guys. If you guys don't argue with Nazis very much, I'm not calling this person a Nazi, but it's a Nazi tactic. And I'm not calling you a Nazi, but it is a tactic that they kind of invented and they use. It's called slipping the premise. You say something that's got a heavy implication to it, but most people don't catch it. It tricks their brain into engaging in a conversation with a flawed premise. You're asking with me? Well, that was a very weird way to word it, but I don't think anything's going to happen like immediately. But I do think that like political repression is coming, y'all. I don't know how else to put it. Like, political repression is going to be attempted. Now, I think... Hold on, I'm going to let this train pass on by because it's kind of hard for me to hear myself think when it's fucking going. I suppose I could talk now that I got to the cars. That's usually what are in these big, slotted cars. This one long freighter, though. There we go. Sorry about that, y'all. Fuck, what was I saying? A normal gay person that can actually give respect to? Oh boy. Oh boy. That sounds a little tokenizing, I'm not gonna lie. That sounds a little tokenizing, but it's okay. Yeah. I am very chill. If nothing else, I may be a trans weirdo, but I'm very chill. I smoke too many bowls. This is literally the same bowl I've been working on for like the entire stream. It's 45 minutes, and look how much I have left of it. Still most of it. I should be proof to, anybody watching that I'm not like a super duper heavy smoker. Jews are fucking what? Dude? You guys are obsessed with this idea that the Jews control everything, but it's just fucking retarded. Jews represent like a slightly higher majority in some areas than some other religions that aren't Christianity do. And Christians take that as some big Jewish conspiracy. And it's literally a meme that's been going on since the fucking medieval era. I don't know how this shit has continued into the modern day. I do not get how the fuck this has been such a consistent piece of hatred. Jews don't control everything, Israel does. Well, now those are two different statements, my friend. Now those are two different statements. All right. One I might be able to agree with. One is just objectively false. Source, literally the entire Republican Party follows Trump's edicts to a T, no matter what the old coot does. And he ain't Jewish. As far as I know, he's a fucking Protestant, I think, of some kind. Like an Episcopalian or some shit like that. I don't fucking know. Or is he one of those dudes that claims like a different denomination every time he talks about Christianity? I'm thinking that might be the case. It's Zionists, not Jews. That's kind of like what we were just talking about, honestly, is the fact that if like some people take issue with all Jewish people because of the actions of Israel, and I want to understand that those are not the fucking same thing. The actions of Israel are not the actions of all Jewish people, and the actions of all Jewish people are so widespread and varied and different that you can't just group them all together like they're the same fucking thing. Like they're all the same kind of thing. It's not a way to treat human beings. It's not a way to look at people. It's a way we look at fucking breeding stock and animals and shit. It's just bad. You are cool? Well, thank you. Jews culturally are often extremely close-knit and often support their own. Throughout history, this culture has been seen as self-serving. Well, the reason why they fucking like band together and stay so close-knit and fucking like you realize that there's like a fucking context for that, right? You realize there's a fucking context for that. It's not out of a desire to be self-serving. It's out of the fact that fucking Jews have literally been kicked out of pretty much every place they've ever been as a people. With the exception of America. America ain't done it yet. We ain't had no pogroms, As far as I know, America ain't had no pogroms yet. Every other fucking country on the planet Earth basically has. Maybe not some South American countries too; they might be exempt, but like any place in the world, people has expelled them at one point or another. It's like a long-standing cultural history. It goes all the way back to the like ethnogenesis of the Judaic people. It goes all the way back to back when Israel was actually like an original country or whatever. It goes all the way back, all the way fucking back. Expelled, 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 time and time and time again. And every time they get expelled from a region, they get more close knit, more. Why do I keep saying it like you spelled it? That's wrong. That's not how close knit is fucking spelled. That's not how it's pronounced. It's close knit. Close knit. I keep mispronouncing it like you misspelled it. Oh man. No, I'm not trying to make fun of you. So I'm sorry. I'm being overly mean, but it just bugged me. Anyway. From a country, they get more close knit, they get more tied together, they get more insular because it's like a defense mechanism. And they are not the only people that are like that, by the way. The Roma people have a very similar story. The Roma people have a very similar story of getting kicked out of originally India, like India, Pakistan, that kind of region, and then getting kicked out of Russia and Georgia and a bunch of other fucking countries in Europe until eventually they kind of found refuge in certain places, and certain cultures began to accept them more than others and shit. But even to this day, there's still a lot of discrimination against Roma people. By the way, for any of you guys who don't know, the term gypsy is an outdated term that refers to Roma people. So I'm talking about gypsies for any other, for any of my fellow Hicks out there, Where I'm from, it just means traveler. Um, I, yeah, no, I mean it should. Here's the thing. I don't police anybody's usage of the word gypsy. I don't tell people they shouldn't use it, but I don't use it to describe Roma people. Um, and Roma people pretty much universally hate hearing it used to describe people like I used to be. Like I used to be kind of a traveler. I used to be like I call myself a former dirty kid, because I'm housed now and do stuff for income and have responsibilities and that kind of thing, But once upon a time, I lived a life that used the term gypsy to describe, and I kind of embraced it for a while until, I kind of heard from some Roma people that I knew online, and they kind of talked about why they don't feel exactly right about that, like why it bothers them to see that term used to describe like nomadic white people, And honestly, the case they made was a pretty good one, and I decided that for myself, I'm not going to use the term gypsy anymore if I can help it. If I'm talking about travelers, I'll say travelers. Dirty kids, you know. There's all kinds of terms for different types of dirty kids and travelers and shit like that. So it's not like you have to use gypsy. And I think like free spirit works to describe a lot of those people too. Hippie works to describe a lot of those people too. And free spirit and hippie don't have any kind of weird cultural connotation that, somebody I care about might get offended by. I'm not saying you guys can't use it. I'm not saying your usage of it is invalid. And I'm not saying that I'm correct on this issue. I'm just saying that's how I feel about it personally. Holy shit. Why? What just tell me what they're about. Instead of telling me to look into these people, interest me. Their name is not interesting enough. I'm sorry. Gypsy was a word used to other Roma people. It's a dehumanizing word. Exactly. Yeah. Which is why I choose not to use it. I don't police other people's usage of it. If somebody else wants to call themselves a gypsy and they're fucking white as the driven snow, that's their business. But I don't do it. And I, try not to throw it around. The only reason I brought it up is because when you talk about Roma people, there legitimately are Americans who know what a Roma person is and know some of the cultural attributes of Roma people, but they attribute it to that word, You're trans, I would think you would know Magnus Hirschfeld. I don't. Not off the top of my head. No. What do you do for a living? Exactly what you see here. Speaking of which, if you want to make sure your comment or question gets answered or read, consider sending a super chat. I do read every single one as long as it doesn't violate TOS. So nothing? Oh, okay. Gotcha. What do you do for a living, friend? What could possibly give me that? Dude, welder and sheet metal fabrication immediately after one another. What are the chances? What are the chances? A lot of blue collar folks in the chat today, though. That's cool. If you're going to get into arguments about anti-trans shit, the person you'd want to bring up for the West would be John Money. He was fucked up, and some of the major movements based beliefs on him. Yeah. But I'm also big on the idea that not everything reduces down to one scientist. No fucking... There's no scientific movement or anything like that that reduces all down to one fucking dude, you know? Independent research has been done on this, like, extensively in the Netherlands. And there's all kinds of research that's been done on this independently of John Money and his fucked up nature since then. Which is why I guess, to be honest with you guys, that's why I don't really consider it that important to learn about some of these, like, boogeymen that the anti-trans movement has. That's why I kind of need to be convinced about it, because ultimately the argument remains the same regardless. It's like, okay, so some fucked up dudes were involved in the early practice of this science. I got news for you. That's true of every motherfucking movement you could list. There's literally not a movement that isn't true of. There's not a fucking single massive change in American medical history that hasn't come after a bunch of really fucked up shit. Give you an example. Where did we learn about hypothermia from? Anybody know? Anybody know where the most extensive early information on hypothermia came from? Anybody know where we learned about hypothermia from? Nobody's given the correct answer yet. Makes me think that you guys are afraid to address this inconsistency in your argument. Well, since none of you guys are getting it, the way we learned about hypothermia, like the way medical science really made the first big leaps when it came to hypothermia as an illness, was because of the awful, dehumanizing human experiments of Joseph Mengele and Nazi scientists in all of the concentration camps working under him. So are we going to throw out hypothermia as a diagnosis too? Because it's based on Nazi science. We're going to throw out everything we know about twins, because some of what came to be understood about twins in the wake of World War II came from Joseph Mengele's experiments. Are we going to toss out all of Sigmund Freud's findings, which, while not relevant to clinical psychology, ended up being incredibly relevant to social psychology? We're going to ignore all of his findings and put them away and not talk about them because Sigmund Freud was a fucked up dude? Exactly how much of science are you willing to throw away because of the political affiliations of the people who were working on it? Especially when the point remains that none of this science is like entirely based on their experiments alone. It's stuff that was built upon in later experiments that showed the same thing. The whole fucking point of science is repeatability. The whole fucking point of science, and especially medical science, is repeatability. You know so much, but yet you don't work. I spend most of my time raising my child, but outside of that, when I do have free time, when my partner's home and they're taking care of him and everything, I do this for a living. And I make between 300 and 700 a month. It's more than the vast majority of people making stupid shit on YouTube do. The vast majority of people on YouTube making content don't make a dollar or a dime with it. I actually make money on this shit. So fuck you, bitch. Go get a real job? How about you go get a fucking less bitter attitude? Use a bowl to cut your hair? Don't you think if I did that, it would be a little more even? The wind. It's not even really the wind, it's just like a small breeze, but it still sucks. Adopted because how do men have kids? See, this is a person who knows that I'm trans, knows that I'm a trans woman, and so finds it unlikely that I've got a male partner, or I'm sorry, that I've got a female partner, assumes I've got a male partner. So they're like, how the fuck? Because they've just learned that the dynamic of a trans woman's life is not exactly what they think it was. Because as it turns out, the trans stereotypes that they hear about all day on their Groyper forums do not actually reflect reality. This is a person learning about reality in real time. Savor it. This is a person learning how the world works in real time. Yeah, put your fucking pants back on, all right? So you trans with a woman? What was the point? Are you under the impression that trans people just transition to date? Wait, what? Wait a minute. Hold on. Are you seriously under the impression that the only reason trans people come out and transition is to date people of the same sex that they were born as? Like they can't pull. Is your theory that like people like trans women transition because they can't get gay men, so they transition so that they can get straight men? Is that your whole fucking? Is that the theory? Is that what you guys are hearing on fucking Tucker Carlson and shit? Is that what you guys are reading on 4chan? See, this is why you guys need to read a book. This is why you guys need to spend less time on your fucking social media forums, less time on Facebook, less time on YouTube, less time watching these for that matter, and more time reading the Mayo Clinic's fucking multiple articles on transgender, like on transgenderism and gender dysphoria, body dysmorphia, etc., etc., etc. This is why you guys need to educate yourself rather than spending literally all of your fucking time doing nothing but exposing yourself to weird online subcultures, which, by the way, this dude you guys all seem to worship, Charlie Kirk, he was killed by a dude who's engaging in that kind of terminally online behavior. He was literally killed by a fucking crazy dude that was engaged in that exact kind of terminally online behavior, that exact kind of 24 hours a day, constantly fucking thinking about online shit. I don't do that. And I'm a person who does kind of engage with some online communities and shit, but I don't do it heavy. I I will argue. There's a group of people I'll argue with on Reddit about every 2 weeks, and I might come, in the interim and leave a comment every now and again. But I'll spend like, 2 hours or so every couple of weeks arguing with a bunch of them and going back and forth with them. And then I'll go away for another 2 weeks, And the rest of my fucking time, literally, as soon as I close the app, I stop thinking about them. And I start thinking about whatever else is going on in life. Because my life doesn't exist on here. It exists out here. And you guys should be the same way. And you wouldn't have this weird anti-trans ideology so stuck in your head if you guys were able to live more out here and less in here. By the way, consider sending a super chat if you want to support the channel, and if you want to make sure your comment gets read or your question gets answered. I do read every single one as long as it doesn't violate TOS. He wanted to be a woman to date girls. You're fucking misunderstanding the whole entire point of why people come out as trans. The reason I came out as trans has nothing to do with who I want to date. Being trans has nothing to do with who you date. Being trans has to do with how you feel about yourself. Being trans has to do with how you relate to the rest of the world and how you want the world to relate to you. It has nothing to do with who you date. There are trans women who date men. There are trans women who date women. There are trans women who date anybody. That's me. There are trans women who date fucking just other trans women. There are trans women who date just trans men. There are trans women who go all over the fucking spectrum, and the same is true of trans men. The same is true of non-binary people. You cannot predict anything about someone's dating, well, other than bisexuality, but in my opinion, you can predict that about anybody based on their gender makeup. You cannot predict it. There are all kinds of different dating patterns within the trans community and within the cisgender community. Like, every kind of person has their like specific preferences and the people they lean more towards and the people they relate more to. And if there's any kind of tendency among them, it's that we're all united in bisexuality, in my humble opinion. What's going on right now in these comments is literally why we're never escaping elitism. Yeah. Well, when you say elitism, I'm not sure if you mean like, what do you mean when you say elitism? Do you mean like the control of the bourgeoisie over the working class, or do you mean like elitism and like people being holier than thou and all that shit? Because either way, I think I agree. But yeah, I mean, people can't unite anymore. People have been trained to not unite. People have been trained to look at the very idea of uniting as somehow dangerous and flawed. Always care about left and right. The problem is the elites. I mean, pretty much, yeah. Like, me and you word it a little bit differently, but yeah, the problem is the elites. I don't usually use that phraseology because I feel like it's been co-opted so often by movements that I disagree with so fundamentally. But yeah, basically, it's billionaires and the corporations they own and control. They are the reason your fucking wages keep getting, or I'm sorry, they're the reason why your wages are stagnant, why your benefits keep getting worse, why your 401k doesn't seem to be doing as good as it used to. They are the reason why housing is more expensive than it's ever been. They are the reason why there's a massive housing buzz. Fuck, dude, I can't talk. They are the reason why there is a massive housing bubble. They are the reason why rents keep getting higher. It is the greed of the ownership class, which is the phraseology I would use. The ownership class is to blame for these things because they are the ones who demand to extract a profit from everything that happens. They don't want you owning your own property because they want you to pay for your entire existence. They want you to pay for your entire existence. Do you want to have a fire in your yard or something? Well, you better go buy a nice fire pit or something, because like you can't just like dig one in your backyard. You live in an apartment. Or do you live in an apartment on the second story? You just don't have any place to do that? Well, you better be prepared to go spend the rest of your money in the economy somewhere, getting some place to do that for a night if you want to do it. You know, like, do you want to have your own food? Well, you can't grow it. They don't want you owning your own property, because like, what if you grow your own food and you have to spend less in the economy? Like, it all ties in together. It all interchanges and it all relates. I don't know how to put it, but it all ties in together, basically. They want you to have to rent your life. Exactly. Exactly. They want you to have to pay for every single creature comfort that you have. You know, your landlord doesn't own your property and extract rent from you because they want you to never have anything of your own. That's not really the reason they do it. They do it to make a quick buck. But the mentality of the ownership class as a whole is single-mindedly about getting people as accustomed to the idea of not owning their lives as possible. They want you to have to pay for everything. And in that way, by the way, our capitalist society is actually a lot more restrictive than anybody's idea of communism is. Because in theory, you have so many freedoms in America, but what freedoms do you really have? In a country where where everything is put behind a paywall and you can't afford to get past that paywall. Where the vast majority of people can't afford to get past the biggest paywalls, where most people don't have access to the kind of crazy shit that the richest people in a society have. They'll just never have access to it. They'll never be even able to get close to it. There's lots of people that, like, the middle class does kind of still exist in America. There is some kind of like area, there's some kind of gray area between working class person with a decent living and super duper rich person. There's a little bit of a middle class left there, and even they get to do crazy shit that I would say the majority of people in our society don't ever get to really enjoy or see, unless they're specifically chosen by one of those more able people to go along or something. Barbie Blue, you've been given your customary amount of attention. Now go away. Listen, just because your parents hate you and you can't get any attention from there on the planet doesn't mean that I have to be the one to supply it for you. Get out. Skedaddle. Be gorn. I'm pretty sure your parents hate you as well. What are you basing that on, Richard? Again, I ain't coming at you, but this country is why you can be, say, slash what you think. Okay, yeah, I know, I get that. But when have I talked shit about America specifically in this stream? I feel like I've been making some pretty broad criticisms of shit. I don't know. I haven't exactly been on a fuck America rant today. So where is this coming from? Just like the assumption that I'm a leftist, so I must hate America? No, like I recognize that America's got fucking problems we should probably work on, but I don't kid myself and think that it's fucking like America is special in a certain kind of way. Like, if for no other reason than because you can kind of be what you want to be here. You know, like you can kind of more or less be what you want to be here. You can kind of go where you want to go, but it's all predicated on money, right? And that's one of my big criticisms of America, is that we have allowed money to be put in between people and living a good life here. And I don't think that has to be an aspect of America. I don't think it, like, I hate love it or leave it people because it just flies in the face of what America is supposed to be. America is supposed to be a country where the people come together for an opinion. And love it or leave it is basically saying, I'm too fucking lazy and stupid to try and convince you to change your opinion. So instead, I'm just going to fucking, I'm just going to dismiss your opinion and tell you that I want you gone so that it's easier to get a majority to make it look like everybody agrees with my opinion. It's just bullshit. God bless you, Phoebe. I don't have the patience to argue with bad faith. Yeah, I do, sadly, somehow. Dude, if we got one more like, we would hit 60 likes. Imagine how fucking cool that could be. Oh, I think it depends. Love it or leave it still would still work if someone wants authoritarianism, for example. Well, yeah. Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, the one area I think love it or leave it applies is when you're talking about somebody who wants to fundamentally go against like some fundamental aspect of America. But once again, even then, it's kind of hard for me to justify, right? Because that's such a subjective thing. I mean, me and you probably have different ideas of what the core fundamentals of America are. Maybe we don't. Maybe we totally agree. But like the fact that there's that chance means that it's kind of a risky thing. Even then. But yeah, I guess I kind of agree. Like, yeah, I think if you're going against like a super fundamental core value of America, which like I think one of the things that puts America apart from other countries is our freedom of speech, right? Our freedom of assembly, freedom of the press, that kind of thing. Like there are more protections in America for that than there are in a lot of other countries, maybe in any other country, if we're being completely honest. Like there's no such thing as hate speech in America. I mean, there is like you can like somebody can call something you say hate speech or whatever, but there's no real consequences for hate speech. 60 is the new high, I take it. Look back through my streams and tell me if 60 is the new high. Look back through my streams and tell me if 60 is the new high. Dude, is there just a war going on between people's alts and chat right now? Is that what's happening? There's a war of alts going on in my chat, I think. Post, you can just ban these idiots that are trying to engage in this, like, I'm going to fuck with the mods kind of thing. You just ban them. Fucking morons. I can't believe it. Dude, I hate it when we're in a fucking really good conversation. Things are going back and forth. We're arguing with people in the chat. And then I look down at the chat and I see a bunch of fucking dipshits that are pissed off that somebody got timed out because they're being a dipshit. And dude, I fucking hate that shit. People are so fucking weird. It's a fucking internet chat, dude. It's not a dick. Don't take it so hard. Yeah, stop arguing with the mods. It's a bad look. Argue with me. I say plenty of disagreeable shit for me and Post both, okay? I thought this was great. Again, I am super red, Trump through and through. I mean, hey, this is fun for everybody. It's fun for me because I get to argue with people I disagree with. And I think it's fun for you guys for the same reason, from what I can tell. If you don't come into something like this with someone you may disagree with, thinking that you may have had your ideas challenged and accepting that you're part of the problem, thinking that you may have your ideas challenged and accepting that you're part of the problem. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just ban any of these alts that come in trying to troll. Yeah, it's solidifying that not everyone is nuts. Well, yeah. Dialogue and challenging ideas is the only thing that prevents extremism. Exactly. And the wild thing is, like, some people would consider me an extremist because of some of the things I believe, but I really don't think I'm that much of an extremist. I'm kind of like the only dude. And you know what the sad thing is? Being opposed to capital in this country gets you labeled an extremist in a lot of cases. And so I have to be careful with the way that I oppose capital. I can't exactly advocate for all the things I necessarily want to advocate for because they're just, like some of them are treated as if you're advocating for like super extremist political violence or something like that. When I would never argue for an assassination, I would never argue for anything like that, like any kind of political violence of any kind. But there are definitely things I think that the left and people broadly could probably do that would probably help the situation. But, you can't really argue about those, or you can't really talk about those in like a super public platform like this. People are allowed to have ideas. We don't kill each other for not agreeing. Exactly. That's my thing. Yeah. People are allowed to have ideas. People are allowed to be wrong. That's my thing. You're allowed to be wrong. I'll even use it on my regulars sometimes in here. We'll be getting into an argument and shit, and we'll get like an hour into it, and it'll just kind of start to fizzle out, and I'll just be like, okay, whatever. All right, well, you're allowed to be wrong. You can hang out in here. It's fine. And, like that's how I feel about people in general. That's really genuinely how I feel about human beings in general. I feel like people should be allowed to be wrong. Like people should be given the space to be kind of incorrect about shit every now and again. Not everybody agrees with that. Damn, I can't help it that that's the way I feel. It's actually part of what I mean. No one thinks they're an extremist, even if they really are. I don't believe you are either, just passionate. Passionate extremism can be a thin line. See, yeah, it definitely can be. And that's, I think, what sometimes gets me in hot water with some people's perceptions of me, at least. In some cases, is that they kind of have a hard time distinguishing between those two when in my mind it's pretty clear, right? I don't advocate for political violence. I advocate against political violence. I i try to be very clear that the way I think things should be done is a way that is completely civil under the constitutional framework of the United States. Like there's things that I advocate for that some people would consider extreme, but that I don't really think are. Like, am I an extremist for thinking we need universal health care? Am I an extremist for thinking that we need to cut off the IDF if they're not going to stop with the Palestinian genocide? Am I an extremist for thinking that we need student loan forgiveness and then we need to transition to a publicly funded model for higher education? Am I an extremist for those things? Some people would say that I definitely am. Some people would call me a crazy radical socialist for those beliefs. Am I? I don't think so. But, like you said, no extremist ever does. Every extremist thinks that they're the fucking normal one and everybody else is the crazy. But I gotta tell you, I don't think everybody else is the crazy either. So that's maybe another mark, hopefully, against me being an extremist, because I don't think everybody else has fucking gone insane. I think that we're all going insane because of pressures from above. I think that the ownership class has like created a system that is so antagonistic and so like harmful to everyone inside of it that we're all just kind of like starting to eat each other. I think they're misguided too, but there's definitely people who felt that way, and it always kind of bothers me because, in my opinion, that none of the things I just called for are particularly radical, in my opinion. None of the things I just called for are outside of like the Overton window in such a profound way that I think it needs to be um, treated as if it's an extremist viewpoint. But there are definitely people who look at it that way, and you know, at times you just end up being in this position where you're just like, I'm not really that fucking radical, dude. I'm like a pretty normal lefty. I feel like I ain't out here calling violent revolution. I'm out here calling for literally my big thing is like I think that if we all gathered in Washington D.C., not all of us, but if like but between 10 and 15 million people gathered in Washington D.C. and on Wall Street, and I think if we occupied those areas, all the public areas that we could, I think it would last a week before lawmakers started to like acquiescing to some of our demands and getting some fucking bills pushed through that achieve the things that we've been talking about here: universal health care, student loan forgiveness, and then the setup of a publicly funded higher education system, infrastructure renewal with an eye towards public transit, um, a food stipend to make sure that nobody is going hungry, that no child goes hungry, that no adult goes hungry, that nobody goes hungry in this country, to ensure that people always have at least that little bit of a leg up, and housing reform, land reform. That way people are able to buy houses again, and that way people who are willing and desirous of moving to some less populated country area with a lot of abandoned but livable houses can just get on a wait list for one of those houses and be granted one, so that we can fucking solve the housing crisis in this country, so that we can ease the pressure on the American worker. We could achieve these five things. But we need to bring to bear 10 to 15 million people in a peaceful and organized way in Washington, D.C. and on Wall Street, distributing food. Like, my thing is like, we need to do it like Rainbow does a gathering, because that's basically civil disobedience. Rainbow is basically civil disobedience. It's you're occupying federal land for 2 to 3 weeks while you're praying for peace and the cleanup and the setup process and all that. It ends up being about 4 weeks where a bunch of hippies descend on some federal land and occupy it for a while and then leave and clean up everything and leave. We need to do it like that. Bring a bunch of people, as many people as we can, to bear on these cities with cooking implements and guitars and signs and blank fucking material for new signs. And we need to spend as much time as we can advocating for these five things, telling people about this, making appearances with reporters, demanding this, playing music in support of this, playing protest music, playing music to keep the people's souls burning, distributing food freely, donation basis, so that there's no fucking food laws or whatever that they can try and get people on. Where's the money to build? Dude, there's plenty of money in this country. It's just spent in the wrong places. We're totally fine with giving corporations endless subsidy after endless subsidy, but we don't want to help out the American worker. We're totally fine with giving the military-industrial complex millions of dollars every year, billions of dollars, in fact. But we don't want to help out the American worker? We're totally fine with wasting money day after day after day after endless day on bullshit, but we don't want to help the American worker. That's bullshit. That's not how things should be. That's not how things are supposed to be. Who pays for it? The fucking billionaire class that are finally made to pay taxes. The billionaire class and the corporations they own and control. You close the tax loopholes and you start reappropriating a bunch of tax money away from the military-industrial complex by making sure that these companies are obeying rigorous transparency standards. You bring these companies under your fucking control. You nationalize them if you have to. You nationalize some of these corporations that are right now costing the government way more than they would if the government just owned them itself. If the government just took over these fucking companies and ran them as state-owned companies. I'm talking these big military contractors. If the American government just took them over and ran them as not-for-profit research laboratories, basically, they would spend way less. So maybe nationalizing some of these military-industrial complex companies would be a move that we could look for. There's a number of ways that you can get up enough money. Oh my god, you fucking moron. Oh my fucking god. God, people are retarded. Dude, I just saw somebody do the most dangerous fucking thing you can do at a level crossing. I hate humans. Humans aren't my friends. Nationalizing private sectors can also be a problem because it can lead to fascism. Not in my opinion. Not like by itself, no. I gotta be honest with you, we are already well on the way towards fascism. I partly agree with you because Trump doesn't stand for anything he acted like he did. Yeah, no, I mean, Trump claimed to be an anti-war president. He has yet to resolve the tensions between Russia and Ukraine. And no, I was not expecting an instant turnaround. I mean, I kind of was, honestly, because Trump said he was going to do that, you know? So I kind of held him to that because I think that it matters when a president lies. I know, call me crazy, but I actually think it fucking maybe matters a little bit when a president says they're going to do some shit and then doesn't. And Trump said day one he was going to fucking fix this between Russia and Ukraine. He was acting like he might even be able to fix it before he even got into office. And he didn't. And now it's almost fucking October and he still has not done it. He still has yet to do it. He still has yet to make any meaningful move towards ending the Russia-Ukraine war. Literally, Putin came for like half an hour and left at that one summit. It led to nothing. It was nothing. Ukraine and Russia continue to fight each other. The fucking peace deal is no closer than it ever was. Gaza continues to be rubble and continues to be made worse and worse rubble by the day. Railroad retirement is great. Oh, I bet it is. I know a lot of railroad jobs are union jobs, so I imagine you guys got a pretty good pension or 401k going for you. Well, how do we solve that war? Honestly, I think solving the conflict in Russia and Ukraine is going to involve some kind of strong arm deal between America and Russia. It would take a president that doesn't have any kind of like Trump loves Putin. That's the problem, right? And Joe Biden doesn't want to rock the boat. It would take a president who doesn't care about that. So it would take somebody with Trump's attitude, but without Trump's fucking affections for Russia and Putin. But if you had a president like that, I think they could strong arm Russia into accepting a deal where Russia gets the region that they've been fighting for, more or less. Ukraine gets so Ukraine gets like control over some kind of like demilitarized zone, basically between like they get shared control of a region, right? Right, Ukraine and Russia, then the border region, and then Russia's got control over the rest, but Russia can't de-Ukrainify that area or whatever. and Ukraine gets to join NATO. I think that an American president that was willing to wheel and deal like that could probably strong arm Ukraine and Russia into a tenuous deal like that. And hell, who the fuck knows? Putin isn't going to live forever. Eventually, the old bastard has to die. And when he dies, he'll probably be replaced by somebody way less radical than he is. This is just a tendency that has happened again and again in Russia's history. You get a really bad leader, and then you get a really good leader, and then you get a really bad leader, and then you get a really good leader. You know? There's a good chance that Putin ends up being replaced by somebody who manages to come up through the turmoil of his final years and present themselves as a less conservative alternative to Putin's movement. And, who knows? It might change things. Maybe Ukraine will be able to get its territory back at some point in the future, which is one of the reasons why I would want whatever deal maker makes this deal to have, like, you can't de-Ukrainify this area. You can't Russify it, You're allowed to be here. You're allowed to fucking buy, like, your citizens are allowed to buy land here. You're the one who can have your military going on around fucking doing parades and shit, but you can't try and Russify this area in any way that isn't organic. Like, you can buy an old building and do some Russian shit there, but you can't take, like, an existing Ukrainian heritage site and, deface it or whatever. Like a cultural preservation kind of thing. Is Russia a nuclear power? They are. They're one of the most well-armed nuclear powers on the planet. Not only that, but Vladimir Putin is one of the few major world leaders that has actually threatened nukes, along with Donald Trump. No wonder they fucking love each other. God, I hate this timeline. It's exhausting, bro. If you would have asked me when I was 14 years old, do you think Donald Trump, do you think Donald Trump will ever be president of the United States? Fuck no. Hell, if you'd asked me when I was 16, I would have been like, fuck no. Even if you'd asked me when I was 18, I would have said, I mean, it looks like it's a shoe-in for Clinton, but I guess you can never tell, which was what I was saying in 2018. I was like, or 2016, I was like, because that was the first year I was able to vote, and I voted in that election. But I remember, fuck, where was I? Oh, yeah. I remember I thought, it looks like it's a shoe-in for Clinton, but, man, is there a lot of energy online for Trump. That was the thing that kept running through my head. Because back then I watched The Drunken Peasants, so I was, like, aware of that community. And the old DP community used to be a very, 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 like, from what I can tell, it's an overwhelmingly kind of lefty kind of place now. But the old DP community used to be, and maybe it still is, but, once again, anyway, the old DP community was definitely identifiably metropolitan. It was people from all over. It was people from the left and people from the right and people from the center and people who didn't give a shit about politics, people who laughed at politics, people who hated it. It was all kinds of different people. And I remember thinking when I went to vote that day, I really don't know how this is going to go. I really don't know, because there were a whole lot of Trump people at my voting place, at my polling station. There were a whole lot of people wearing, some kind of like little Trump pin or whatever. And it was wild, dude. I looked, like, if you look at the polls for 2016, they said it was a shoe-in for Hillary Clinton. Pretty much everybody said it was a shoe-in for Hillary Clinton. All kinds of polls. There were polls that had her at like 95% chance to win the presidency and Trump at like 5%. So there were a bunch of people that were probably voting for Trump that were like, yeah, I'm voting for him, but I don't think he's going to win. But he did. He did. Massive numbers of people voted for him. Massive. Hillary Clinton still technically won the popular vote, but boy, did the rural communities show out for him. It's also producing nuclear warheads never really improved since we actually last used them. Most nuclear-related funding was used for production, not weapons. That may be true, actually. I don't know. Wouldn't surprise me. I don't think Hillary would have been much better, to be frank. She would have started war with Russia even earlier, in my opinion. I agree with you 100%. No, I'm not saying, yeah, no, please, God, no. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I wanted Hillary to win. I voted Gary Johnson in 2016. Because, yeah, Hillary's rhetoric on Russia was not better than Trump's rhetoric on the Middle East, you know? And actually, the rhetoric on the Middle East was basically the same. Although Hillary's, I guess, was a little bit more peace-seeking, but she just wanted to fucking shift America's attention to a different conflict. She didn't want to end it, dude. This is the fucking thing, and it's never fucking occurred to me. Neoconservatism got fucking so deep into American culture and so deep into the American government that it has actually infected the minds of liberals now. It has infected the minds of liberals. How else do you end up with someone like Hillary Clinton, who functionally governs like who would have governed like a neoconservative and who acted like one in her capacity as Secretary of State? How else do you explain that? How do you go from being basically just shy of a lefty in the 90s to being a fucking monster in the 2010s? How do you do that? How does that happen? How does that happen? Well, two things. Number one, money. And number two, the slow but sure destruction of our, the slow but sure destruction of distinction within politics and its replacement with a kind of rigid neoconservative backing that pretty much every modern politician follows. Pretty much every modern politician does it. Neoconservatism got its fucking got its fucking claws stuck so far in our collective bodies. It got its fucking greedy little claws so deep into our pockets and our bodies that we are, all of us, forced to reckon with its existence as a movement, to reckon with its ideals and its desires. The media is all left. Man, you'd think so, huh? I don't think you know much about neoconservatism, though. If you disagree with me that neocons have infiltrated our government for a long ass time and have done so effectively that they've actually changed the national discourse, then I'm sorry, you just don't know much about the movement. And that's not me trying to be really just saying, like, it's something that once you learn about, it'll fucking blow your mind, dude. That's all I'm saying. Look up, and I tell you what, maybe I'm wrong, right? Don't take it from me. I'm a moron. I get that. Don't take it from me. There is a documentary you should watch, though, and all of you guys should watch it if you're interested in this kind of thing, called The Power of Nightmares by Adam Curtis. It's available for free here on YouTube. It'll make you realize what I'm talking about is true. It's not just conjecture. And it'll illustrate how it's true with shit that you can just look up online and verify yourself. It gives like constant sourcing. It's just like Adam Curtis is a very like fact-based filmmaker. The facts just happen to align in a way that's kind of condemning of this movement. So it's something worth looking into. Even if you disagree with me, even if you're a neoconservative and you think that your movement is perfectly fine and you don't see this kind of thing in it or whatever, I think it would behoove you to check that doc out, because at the very least you'll know some of the criticisms that lefties are going to have. We can agree on the infiltration, and I think it's the left, so we kind of hit the nail on the head there. Well, see, we both recognize that the government has definitely been infiltrated by some kind of exterior political force that has changed things for the worse. But you think it's the left, and I think it's a very specific aspect of the right. I'm telling you, dude, it's not the left that's infiltrated the fucking government. The government, when it comes to social policy, my friend, the government responds to whatever the people indicate that they need in that moment. And what the people have been wanting for a long time, good, bad, right, or wrong, is more social acceptance of queer people, more social acceptance of Middle Eastern people, more social acceptance of people with different faiths and different identities and ways of dressing, etc., right? That's what, like, America's kind of a place that's been going down that road for a long time. I mean, we've kind of always been a place where you can be a weirdo and be okay here, you know? But we've become even more accepting and we've become even more protective of those folks as we've gone on as a country. And so now America is like kind of well known for being a place where you can let your freak flag fly. And I would never change that about us. You know, I would never change that about us. But it's something that happened organically because the people demanded it year after year, protest after protest, demonstration after demonstration. It's something we demanded. It's something we wanted for so long. Something we insisted upon. Did you see how the right just kicked thousands of leftist butt? How? How did they do that? Anarchy USA documentary, the civil rights movement. Learn this happened around party. Do what? The right doesn't care about race. It gets deformed with people's emotions, and again, the media. Maybe some people on the right don't care about race, but there are a lot of people who did. I mean, the guy who just got assassinated, Charlie Kirk, has described how the Civil Rights Act was one of the biggest mistakes we ever made as a country. Has used pretty dehumanizing language to describe black people. Implied that he would never trust, that he could never trust like a black pilot or something like that because they might just be a DEI hire. So like, I mean, you guys definitely do. I don't know why you guys feel the need to hide from it. I actually I kind of admire those of you who don't. I like that's why like I'm not saying I don't like having this conversation with you. I do. It's fun. But there is something to be said about arguing with a groiper, okay? And the thing that the thing is, a groiper will just come right out and be like, yeah, and they'll just say like they hate black people or whatever, and they'll just like list off all the reasons why. But they're like so honest about it, and they're all reasons you can defeat easily if you know anything about fucking social politics in this country, if you know anything about economics in this country, if you know anything about the history of racism in this country, redlining, gerrymandering, all this other shit, right? You can fucking roundly debunk all of their points that they use to be a race realist or whatever. But I like the fact that they're honest about it. I like the fact that they just come right out and say it. I don't like people who, like Charlie Kirk, who want to say shit like that out of the side of their mouth and then don't want to say with their they don't want to say with their full throat, yeah, I'm a racist. They don't want to do that because that would make them look horrible. So they just go about spreading either misinformation or skewed statistics or whatever, or out of context stats to try and get wins on lefties. Once again, I said it before and I'll say it again. Charlie Kirk was a moron, and I think he was wrong about a lot of things. I think he was about as disingenuous a fucking motherfucker as you can get. But that doesn't mean he deserved to be shot down like a dog in the street. I think it's wrong. I think we need to keep condemning fucking political violence like that. But I'm not going to stop illustrating why Charlie was wrong about shit. And I'm not going to stop using him as an example of some more extremist kind of viewpoints on the right wing. False intellectualism is widespread. I mean, you just said is a widespread, so I don't think you get to, like, dude, don't be calling out pseudo-intellectualism when you're, like, that far off, Master Blaster. At least fucking spell check first. But anyway, no, pseudo-intellectualism is on the rise because people have found it's not really, like, people have figured out that it's really not that important to be intelligent. It's more important to sound intelligent. And people have figured out that if they can just sound charismatic enough, and memorize a couple of things here and there, that they can sound like a fucking genius, you know? Or they can at least sound smarter than somebody who's not as familiar with what's actually going on in the world. You know, somebody that just doesn't think about it all that much, but that wants to think about it, you know? Man, and that is the sad fucking fact, is that they're like every year there become more people like that, more lost people. I would rather somebody not be interested in politics at all than be in that sad fucking beginning stage of getting into politics where you're so fucking vulnerable to super extremist ideologies and super crazy fucking beliefs. In the end, I'm red because I value my family, I value God and Christian values, I value human rights. In the end, I treat all people how I would want to be treated, the golden rule. Well, see, Brian, like, ultimately, I think that somebody like you would probably, I bet me and you could find a candidate that we would both vote on, you know? Think about, like, what if you could vote for a Christian socialist, Brian? Would you do it? Like, let's say a Christian socialist, and that's a real thing. You can look it up. It's actually a kind of cool movement. It extrapolates on the beliefs of Jesus and says, you know what? If this is what Jesus did and this is what Jesus wanted us to do, then it's time we do it as a society. It's basically taking those aspects of Christianity. It's turning the Beatitudes into legislation, basically. It's really fucking cool movement. But what if you had a Christian socialist, or somebody that's going to take care of everybody through mutual cooperation and things like that, that is going to try their best to uphold Christian values without interfering in the rights of other people to express themselves how they want, right? Would you vote for somebody like that? Yeah, it exists. Diane, look it up. It exists. I didn't invent it. Tolstoy invented it, okay? It goes back to Tolstoy. Don't hold this shit against me, okay? Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just telling you it's real. I'm not saying you should fucking necessarily follow it, but I was just asking Brian if he would accept that as a candidate. Socialism fails because I've had to be paying. Nah, dude, you had to be paying anyway, though. You got to be paying anyway, though. You're already paying. You're telling me you're not paying for health insurance? You're paying for health insurance. You would be paying less in taxes if we had a universal healthcare system than you're currently paying with whatever your monthly medical bill is. Whatever your, healthcare insurance plus whatever medical bills you have month to month might be. You would be paying way fucking less. Way less. And everybody would be paying something that is fair based on their income. It'd be way smarter way to organize things, just like on the healthcare aspect alone, you know? And like, I think that if you actually had some kind of socialist running in America, I think that they wouldn't be coming with a lot of you wouldn't see like, a lot of people are going to be using Zoran Mondani as like an example of a socialist in America for a long time, which I'm glad of. He is like a good example. But I honestly think that some sort of like federal level, like socialist policy is going to look more like some of the things that I brought up today. A food stipend, maybe, housing and land reform, maybe. Universal healthcare is going to have to be like the first thing that they address, because that fucks over so many people. I mean, I can't even tell you how many people the lack of healthcare fucks over. It touches every life in America. You're saying if I cut my hair a certain way, I can avoid working too? What? What are you going on about, Master Blaster? What, huh? So I pay more taxes already up my ass. I work for a living. My mortgage is ballooned. That's what I'm saying, Brian, is you'd be saving money if we didn't fucking pay for healthcare out of our own pockets. You know how like, you realize as long as the fucking healthcare system is just left up to these private companies, they can decide how much they're going to charge you month to month on your health insurance. Under a government-funded plan that was funded through contributions from taxes, not just from working class people like you and me, but also from the billionaire class, which currently pays almost nothing in taxes. We close those loopholes. We start reappropriating tax money appropriately. We could afford to take that burden off of everyone's back. And I would be shocked if your monthly tax bill went up by $10. I would be shocked. Unless you're making like a really decent amount of money, like if you're making really good money, you might be paying a healthy chunk in taxes. There is a kind of a fucked up gray area in America between working class person that's getting by okay, rich person where you're just paying the fucking ass load of the taxes that are being used in the country. And that sucks. But that's what I'm advocating to change, Brian. That's what I want. That's one of the many things I want to change. I want to close the fucking tax loopholes so these fucking billionaires that are really fucking profiting off of all of this shit in the end of the day, at the end of the day, are not able to just skirt their fucking tax liability. I want to close those fucking loopholes. I want to make them and the corporations they own and control liable for taxes. I know, revolutionary idea, but if we did it and we reappropriated some of the money away from places where it just doesn't need to be spent. I mean, does the Air Force really need a $1,500 coffee mug? No, right? Et cetera, et cetera. We start cutting some of the fat from existent spending, from extant spending in the fucking tax code. We cut some of that fat, close the loopholes, and we start reappropriating this giant excess of tax money that we just created towards providing healthcare for everybody and eliminating private healthcare insurance. So nobody is paying a fucking dime at the point of service for their healthcare. You're not paying for it in that way. You work, you're paying for it with a little bit out of every paycheck. I would be shocked if your taxes went up by even a little bit under a properly fucking socialist plan that makes the billionaire class account for their fucking, like, they profit off of, a lot of the productivity in this country. All of us who profit off of it, who aren't billionaires, have to pay taxes. Why shouldn't they? So we close those fucking loopholes. We make them fucking pay for part of the upkeep of this country that they're constantly using as a method of profit. There you go. Open borders makes healthcare higher. Then why is the healthcare still high under the Trump administration? I thought he closed the borders, Diane. I thought Trump closed the borders, so why is healthcare still fucking expensive as shit? I know family members for whom their fucking healthcare has actually gotten more expensive under the Trump administration. How about that? They bring all the money in, they will outsource it. So Brian, are you really saying that we should just let these people fuck us because if they don't, they're going to take all the money away? Is that really your argument? That we just got to let them fuck us because the option is just being a desolate wasteland with nothing? Because that's not how it would work, man. I'm sorry. That's not how it would work. The corporations don't own and control the military. The corporations, if they choose to do that shit, a sufficiently crazy president, like a Trump or somebody, could choose to pass a law giving him emergency powers to, like, prevent these corporations from moving over any of their equipment. It's like, all right, you can pull out of this country. You can leave this beautiful American country behind if you want to. But I tell you what, we're not going to let you leave with that equipment. That's American equipment. We're going to use that to make America great again, folks. We're going to use that to make America great again. We're not going to let our tanks, uh, you know, fuck, I lost the bit, but you get the idea, right? We could totally do that. Hi. Sorry, my partner's coming down. Jobs held by illegals drives wages down for Americans. Once again, I thought Trump got rid of all the illegals. Why are wages still stagnant? Dude, the fact that these problems continued to exist under the first Trump administration and continue to exist under this Trump administration proves that it's not a problem of that kind of policy, Diane. I'm sorry. It cannot be a problem of immigration policy or anything like that because you guys keep saying that shit's solved, but then we can look around and see the economy not getting better. If the economy is really linked to all these things you guys say it is, then why doesn't it get better when you guys supposedly improve on these different things? Hi, baby. Here, I can turn my camera off for a second. There we go. You need me a audio?
can be a boy. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he loves being outside, and I think it's cooled down enough now to where we can let him chill here for a while.
Is Casey on?
No.
Damn.
Casey hasn't been in here in a while. I'm wondering if his account got flagged, by YouTube for being a little baby. Yeah, that'd be funny. I gotta ask Casey about it. He's probably just been offline and shit.
I want to grab my cigarette.
What? Oh. Yeah, no, I can't show him. I'm not one of those people, dude. I make my money by arguing with people I disagree with on the internet. I don't make my money by showing off my admittedly very beautiful little baby. People, like, if somebody becomes close friends with me, I'll inevitably ask if they want to see baby pics, but I'm not gonna ever have him as part of my content as long as he's like young, like whatever. If he turns like 18 or something and he's like, hey, I've got this, like, hey mom, I've got this like great idea for this video. I think it'd be really fun for us to do together, and I've got this media class that it would be an extra credit for. I'll be like, oh my god, yes, please, let's do it. But I'm not gonna like make that kind of like YouTuber family kind of shit. Fuck that. Screw that. I really like, he is starting to get old enough to where he's going to start picking up on words, so I need to start getting better about my language around him. Crap. Oh no. It's here, Oh no.
What are you doing?
Nothing. He just drooled a little.
Well, stay on you, Mom.
Did he just wake up from a nap?
No.
Oh. He's being surprisingly still. I'm kind of shocked he's not, trying to climb up me like a tree or anything. We are on different sides. We both can agree that babies are dope as fuck. Yeah, I mean, who can't agree, Yeah, no, I mean, really, that's the thing, is like, America used to be a place where people like me and you, Brian, could have conversations like we just had more regularly. And that's what I kind of try and recreate here. For all of my failings, I try to recreate an environment here where you're allowed to be yourself and you're allowed to have different opinions than I do, and we can argue about them, and it'll get vitriolic as you want it to get. But if you want it to be civil and just talk about the way we agree and see things differently, that's fine. In fact, I welcome it.
Where are you going?
Nowhere. I'm just walking around with him so he gets to see more. I can't walk very well today, but I'm trying my best. But yeah, I wish that we would get back to that place, honestly, and that's why my kind of a lot of my messaging around the whole Charlie Kirk situation has been about, like, we shouldn't be celebrating this. This is like a loss for everybody that believes in talking crazy shit, And as a person who believes in talking crazy shit and the right to talk crazy shit, I find myself, pretty put off by the idea that somebody could just get murdered for it. And even like, but here's the thing, honestly, dude, This is not some new thing for me. This has been the point of my channel since I started streaming and realizing um, how fun it was, honestly. I mean, I always knew how fun it was to argue with people I disagreed with, but once I realized how easy it was for me to find a decent crowd of people to do that with here on YouTube, I I just got really into it. And I want to, like I said, I just like to foster an environment here on YouTube where I can invite people to have these kind of difficult conversations. Just recognize when shit polarizes, people get nuts. Yeah, I know. That's kind of like the fucking. It's like it's the fucked up paradox of the time we're in, right? Is on the one hand, I genuinely believe in fighting fire with fire to some degree when it comes to um, the things that we do in response to like people that are being hostile towards us. Like, I do kind of believe in giving someone back the energy that they give us, but it is polarizing in a way. Like you can't deny that. It is definitely polarizing in a way. And it's something that I don't really know how to get around considering the type of content I do. Sometimes that hostility invites people in, but I just hope that the way I formulate my takes kind of catches people off guard enough to where they're like, okay, well, they said this really edgy confrontational thing, but they actually seem like they're pretty reasonable. I agree with baby. Is very true. It is. Isn't it the most true thing ever?
Huh?
They were talking about Milo. They were talking about the baby. They were talking about what he was saying. Have you tried being off social media for like a week? Oh, dude. YouTube is basically the only social media I do besides like a little bit of Reddit and Discord. I don't do Reddit very often. I'll use it as kind of like a cultural touchstone sometimes to see what people are talking about. But I don't really participate on it much outside of like one community that I fuck with a little bit because it's kind of fun. And then Discord, which I use to get in touch with people, and occasionally to hang out in a voice chat to basically kind of do the same thing to bullshit with people, but without the needed necessity of performance. And then of course YouTube. I used to have Facebook, and I used to be like super addicted to Facebook, but now I'm pretty much I mean, kinda. I do listen to it a lot, but I like honestly, like most of the time when I'm listening to YouTube, I mean, you would agree, I'm usually doing something else, yeah. Like yesterday, most of my day was filled up with making my pizza sauce, and I was listening to YouTube for most of that, but I wasn't like watching it at the same time. Which I don't know, like, is that different from? Is having like one long video playing on in the background different from having the radio playing in the background? I don't think it is. But yeah, in general, I do think that social media breaks are a good thing to do. It is good and righteous to take social media breaks. It's like smoking weed. Like you got to take a tolerance break.
Have we just been using a lot of this wood or something? What?
I've been using a lot of that wood. A lot of it's rotted down anyway, though, so a lot of it's not even that useful. I need to go through it at some point and like knock off the dust and grime off of what is useful and stack it somewhere. Stack it on somewhere elevated. maybe, did you turn that back up?
Turn what back up?
The bench.
No.
Was it like that when you found it?
Yeah.
Weird.
It was like this when I sat down on it.
Well, the cow must have flipped it back over, I guess. Well, you weren't nuts in the end. Again, I disagree. Yeah, no, for sure. I'm definitely not nuts. Not completely, anyway. I mean, I think everybody's a little nuts in the society we're living in. I think things are kind of fucked up. Things are real all fucked up, you know? Like, shit's fucked no matter what angle you look at it from. And I think that's making us all a little crazy. But, yeah. But again, we can agree to disagree, and that's been lost in these last few years. Yeah, that's a thing we were talking about a few minutes ago. Is like how in society as it exists right now, we really have lost our familiarity with the concept of agreeing to disagree. We've lost our familiarity with that idea that merely because we have differing opinions means that, you know, doesn't mean we can't be friends and shit. Like, we've lost our fucking connection to the idea of common humanity despite political lines. And that's something that I feel like we used to take more seriously.
Do you think some point tonight we can go to Dollar General or something so I can get him wipes?
Yeah. Do you have a Kool-Aid mustache?
I guess.
Well, you're not wearing makeup, are you?
No.
Okay, then yeah, it's a Kool-Aid stash.
What do you guys want?
I don't know. I've decided to leave the table standing up like that because the animals all seem to like it to be like that for some reason. I think they like it as a scratching post. You ready?
Huh?
You ready to take him back? I just feel like he's getting a little warm. Or maybe I'm getting a little warm. Because I know babies are heaters.
He's our heater, though.
Yeah. Stop it. Stop climbing me like a tree. Okay. Heater incoming. Oh, shit.
But we can go to Dollar Tree, right?
Yes. My phone's at 34%, so I probably won't be on here much longer. Much longer. Alrighty.
I love you.
I love you too. I love you.
Yeah, but she loves you.
Yeah, he was looking at me when I said it, I think. Well, when I, said like the first couple words. I'm back. Try and meet the red side just a touch, and I'll meet the left. Deal? I don't know what you mean when I say touch the red side. I think I already do, Brian. I think you should come back for some more of these, because, like, that's basically all we do in these streams. Gotta give me something good about being red? Well, you guys usually end up being on the right side of the gun rights issue. Like, I know a lot of right-wingers disagreed with Trump's ban on bump stocks. That was a nice moment to see. Let's see. Some of you guys seem like you care about free speech. I will be honest that, like, it seems way more common amongst people on the grassroots level. Like, it seems more common amongst, like, regular people like you and, you know, probably, like, the people you know than it does among the leadership, where I think sometimes amongst the leadership it's just kind of like a ploy. It's not really genuine. Say something nice? Okay. Okay, a lot of right-wing organizations involve themselves pretty heavily in children's charities. There you go. I think that's pretty noble of them. If they're gonna discourage abortion so heavily, I think it's kind of incumbent on them almost to support, you know, the ability of people to have kids and to take care of them properly. So that's pretty noble. That's pretty cool. I don't need to take part in the creative validation either, but I wanted to prove that I could come up with something nice to say about the right wing. Because the fact that they give to children's charities and shit and get kids fucking presents for Christmas doesn't make them any less wrong. It's like you don't get more right by the amount of good things you do. Maybe you do, kind of. And not, like, maybe not objectively, but, like, when it comes to social policy, like, ultimately outcomes is what most people care about, even if they couch it in other things. We can middle that. Middle it? What do you mean? Get out of here, mosquito. I like your lack of giving a fuck about what people think. Yeah, dude. I mean, that is like a hallmark of the left. What can you say? For better or for worse, we're not impressed by emotional arguments about what we should or shouldn't do. Like I said, for better or for worse, man. Sometimes I think it gets the left in trouble, but for better or for worse, we're not impressed by anyone's moralizing about what the left gets up to. See, look at that. Despite, you know what, that's actually kind of comforting, and I hope it's kind of comforting for you too, Brian, the fact that we could have this like long ass conversation that ended so pleasantly. I'm not saying it's like completely over. I'm just saying, you know, I feel like I gotta get off here soon and do some other shit, and you know, things are kind of probably coming to a close reasonably soon. And despite the recent political violence in Utah, and despite all the turmoil and the destruction, we are still able to have something like a reasonable conversation. You know, we're still able to have like a calm, logical conversation, and we're able to see the humanity in each other. That's something that people are going to have to, or that I really hope that people keep doing, that I really hope people keep practicing, because we need that humanity now more than ever. That was nice. I live 12 minutes from UVU. Oh my god. That's fucking wild. Were you at the event by any chance? I appreciate you as an individual because of your so far consistent good faith. Yeah, that's the thing I like about Brian too. You know, and that's the thing I always tell people. You come at me the right way, I'll come at you the right way every time, every time. And if I don't, I'll apologize. I usually catch myself in the middle of it, and I'll apologize. But I would say 99 times out of 100, if you come at me the right way, I'm going to come back at you the right way. And if somebody comes at me sideways, that's the only time that my fucking claws come out. If somebody wants to call me a bitch or a loser or a fat pig or whatever, at that point, I don't need to engage in good faith, you know? At that point, I can just talk about how your mom loves my fucking fat rolls when I'm fucking her all night long or some shit like that, you know? Like, I don't feel the need to act in good faith. But if somebody's being kind, if somebody's being legitimate and genuine and actually trying to have a conversation, that shit is fucking that shit is music to my ears. That shit is chicken soup for my soul. I love it. I love it. I love it. I eat it up. I don't know why. I'm just like pathologically obsessed with conversation. If I can't get Phoebe streams in a while, if I can't give Phoebe streams in a now, if I can't give Phoebe streams in a row, do I get bingo? Oh, yeah, bingo. Nah, no. I mean, you've given a shit ton to the chat and or to the stream, and I always appreciate it. Good talk. This was productive. I agree. I agree. I agree. It's been fun. Yeah. Yeah. Things are winding down now, you know? Things are winding down. Boy, is it hot. Man, it'll be less hot once the sun goes down behind the trees. Boy, is it taking a while to go down behind the trees. I can't type A, that's fine. That's fine. Neither can I. Neither can I. Don't worry about it. Can't believe we're up to 66 likes. You guys have been doing great tonight. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Go spend time with that baby. Deuces. I am, and just here in a minute. Yeah, I like to let the fucking time counter go up to like a nice even number, like 2 hours and 30 minutes or something if I can. And my partner's got him right now, so I know he's safe and I know he's taken care of. And whatever store we gotta go to is not gonna close in fucking 7 minutes. So what store are we going to? What were they saying where we need to go? I don't remember. If I catch 5 streams in a row, do I get bingy? Bingy. Ah! Yeah, you get bingy. Bingy. Yeah, for sure. If you catch 5 streams in a row, you definitely get a bingo. Yeah, you have been a real regular in here, Riley. You've been catching them pretty fucking quick. Yeah. I mean, this one's winding down now. We've got like 5 minutes and 20 seconds to go, but you know, it is what it is. We've got a little bit to chill out and hang out. I'll smoke one more cigarette with you guys, and by then it'll probably be time to go. Dun 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 dun. Closing time. Turn all of the lights on. Let you out into the world. Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world. Closing time. One last call for alcohol. So finish your whiskey or beer. Closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Yeah. I know who I want to take me home. I could sing that song full throated, but I don't want to fucking, I feel like I'm way too loud out here sometimes. You coming back on tonight? Yeah. I will probably be back on at like 10 to 11. My usual time, basically. Chevy or Ford? Chevy, definitely. Ford, you mean found on road dead? Ford, you mean fucked over, ready to buy? Or fucking, that one doesn't work. It's a B, not a D. Damn it. Damn it. I fucked it up. I thought I was so clever. I thought I was so fucked over. I thought I was so fucking fucked clever. Fuck. Do I have Tourette's? No, I don't. But I'm fucking. I think I'm getting delirious with the heat, honestly. Phoebes makes all the songs I don't like so much better. Dude, that's good. That's good. What's another one you don't like that I do well? Here's one a lot of people don't like. Traveling in a land down under with a on a hippie trail head full of zombie. No, I'm getting the fucking lyrics wrong, dude. I'm fucking retarded, bro. What is happening to me? Traveling in a fried out combi on a hippie trail head full of zombie. I met a strange lady. She made me nervous. She took me in and gave me breakfast. And she said, "Did you come from a land down under, where women glow and men plunder? Can you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover." Are you out in the park? No, this is my backyard, bro. Can you believe that shit? This is the view in front of me. Part of me wants to try streaming, but I'm not entertaining, interesting, or confident enough. Oh, bullshit. Bullshit. Fucking Tim Boy, I bet there's some shit you know about. And even if there's not, dude, just look at me. You can bullshit your way through this shit. You don't have to know anything. I'm a fucking moron, and I fucking got like 7,000 subs almost. I'm a fucking grade A idiot, and look at how many people fucking come here and watch this shit. You know? Those trees have so many beautiful pixels. I take it was pixely when I showed you guys. Oh shit. That was funny. I heard watching Scotty die first when you sang it. I loved it. Found the original and hated the original. Oh shit, really? That's weird. Dude, yeah, the original isn't for everybody though. That is a good song though. I've got a kid, his name is Scott. He's going blind and his blood just will not clot. The doctors line in droves to stick tubes up Scotty's nose. There is the field where Scotty used to play until Ortho Orange number 42 was dumped in it one day. I think it's so funny. I laugh until I cry, just me and God. Ooh, watching Scotty die. Just me and God. Watching Scotty die. The chemical plant across the street puts off steam that colors our white sheets. It's been happening for years. Now we're crying rainbow tears. Now, one day my dog went out to play. Instead of gray, he came back colored yellow. The chemical man said, stay mellow. It happens all the time. Now Scotty's skin is going lime, just me and God. Ooh, watching Scotty die. Just me and God. Watching Scotty die. Just me and God, watching Scotty die. Great lyrics. Reminds me of What Sarah Said by Death Cab. I haven't heard that one, but I'll have to check it out if it reminds you of watching Scotty die. That song is just so fucking sad. And I know I've already gone over time, but I'll do one more quick little ditty, just a couple lyrics, just because I think it's relevant. Talking about the destruction of people's lives by big corporations. Well, I was born on this mountain a long time ago. For they knocked down the timber and they stripped mine the coal. When you rose in the morning, before it was light, to go down in that dark hole and come back up at night. And I was born on this mountain. This mountain's my home. And I knew every holler. No, that's the next verse. Born on this mountain. This mountain's my home. And she holds me and keeps me from worry and woe. Now she took every doll. Now they took every. Now they took everything that she gave. Now they're gone. But I'll die on this mountain. This mountain's my home. We can also sing it like, this mountain's my home. Love is watching someone die. Yeah. No truer words been spoken. Yeah, well, with that dark fucking message, no, I'm just kidding. No, true enough, I suppose. But with that, I bid you guys adieu. Thank you to everybody who super chatted. As always, thank you to everybody who showed up and argued and had a conversation and everything else. Thank you guys so much. I will see you guys later. Bye.